Have you ever had someone say, "I'm doing this because I love you," but somehow, it didn't feel like love? Maybe it felt heavy. Or like you were slowly disappearing in the relationship. Maybe they weren't yelling, but you still felt trapped. That's the thing. Control doesn't always come with shouting or slamming doors. Sometimes, it's dressed up as care. As concern. Even as affection. But deep down, something in you whispers, this doesn't feel right. If you've ever had that quiet voice inside, I want you to know, you're not imagining things. You're not being too sensitive. You're starting to wake up to something real. Let's talk about that today. Because too many women, especially women like you who've spent years trying to keep the peace, have confused control with love. Not because you're foolish, but because someone taught you that love was supposed to hurt a little. Or that real love means self-sacrifice. Or silence. Let's look again. Control, when it's quiet, can look like someone constantly needing to know where you are, what you're doing, who you're with. But they don't call it control. They call it just checking in. They say things like, "I worry about you," or, "I just care too much." But notice the feeling underneath it. Do you feel safe, or do you feel watched? Do you feel supported, or like you're walking on eggshells? One woman I spoke to, she was in her 60s, told me her partner would never raise his voice. He always sounded calm, even sweet. But if she made plans with friends, he'd suddenly go cold. Or sick. Or make her feel like she was abandoning him. She kept canceling things. Staying home. Shrinking her world to fit his comfort. She told me, "I thought I was being loving. But I was disappearing." Have you ever done that? Given up pieces of your life, your time, your friendships, your peace, just to keep someone from getting upset? That's not love. That's emotional control. And sometimes, it happens with grown children too. You say no to something, maybe money, maybe time, and suddenly you're the bad guy. They guilt you. Make you question yourself. You hear things like, "You never support me," or "You don't really care." But here's the truth, people who truly love you don't weaponize your care. They don't punish you for having needs or limits. They don't make you feel like loving them means losing yourself. It's easy to miss the signs when control shows up with a soft voice and a smile. But your body knows. That tightness in your chest, that heaviness in your gut, the way you second-guess yourself every time you speak up. That's not love talking. That's fear. Real love doesn't make you afraid to speak. Real love doesn't require you to shrink. And if you've been taught that love means pleasing everyone, fixing everything, holding the relationship together no matter what, I want to tell you something gently. You don't have to keep doing that. You are allowed to stop. You are allowed to say, "I need space." You're allowed to ask, "Why do I feel small around this person?" And you're allowed to listen to that feeling instead of pushing it down. Because even if they say it's love, if it leaves you feeling anxious, guilty, or exhausted, it's time to look again. And you're doing that now. That matters. That's brave. Sometimes control doesn't sound like, "Do what I say." It sounds like, "I guess I just won't bother you anymore." Or, "Wow. You've really changed." Or worse, silence. Cold, heavy silence. That quiet punishment when you say something they don't like. Have you felt that? You speak up, kindly, clearly, and suddenly they're distant. They pull away affection, attention, even conversation. And you find yourself wondering, did I say too much? Should I have kept quiet? That's how subtle emotional control works. It trains you to doubt yourself. To soften your truth. To choose peace over honesty. But peace that requires your silence isn't peace. Let's pause here a second, breathe with me. If you found yourself apologizing just to fix the mood, even when you didn't do anything wrong, that's a red flag. If you've started to question whether your feelings are too much. If you've shrunk yourself to keep the relationship smooth. You are not crazy. You are not dramatic. You're responding to quiet emotional pressure. One woman told me her grown daughter would blow up anytime she didn't immediately answer the phone. So she started carrying it everywhere, into the shower, into church, even into bed, because she might need me. But deep down, it wasn't love. It was fear disguised as obligation. She said, I felt like a bad mother if I didn't jump. So here's something gentle you can say, if this is happening to you. I love you. I want to be there for you. But I can't be available 24/7. I need rest, too. That might feel scary at first. But boundaries are not rejection. They're how we stay whole inside relationships. And in romantic relationships, especially long ones, it gets tricky. You've built a life together. You've shared holidays, heartbreaks, a home. But if the balance has tipped, if everything is about their needs, their moods, their control, you start to disappear. They may say things like, you'd be nothing without me. Or, I know you better than you know yourself. That's not intimacy. That's possession. Love sees you as a person. Control sees you as a role. Love respects your space. Control invades it and calls it closeness. If you're not sure which one you're dealing with, ask yourself. Do I feel more like myself around this person, or less? That question can tell you everything. Let me offer a small tool you can use when something doesn't feel quite right. Instead of trying to explain or defend, try simply saying, that's not okay with me. You don't need a 20-minute justification. You don't need to list every reason why. You are allowed to say no without apologizing. And if they push back, if they twist it, blame you, or sulk, remember. That reaction tells you more about them than it does about you. You're not asking for too much. You're asking for mutual respect. And if that's too much for them, it might be time to ask, is this really love, or is this control? Because real love listens. Real love adjusts. Real love doesn't ask you to vanish to stay close. Some of the deepest wounds come from people who said they loved us. And maybe they did. But love without respect? Love that suffocates, shames, or silences? That's not the kind of love that heals. That's the kind that slowly erodes you. If you've ever felt like you had to earn love, by staying quiet, being good, not making waves, you're not alone. So many women were raised to please. To be nice. To be selfless. And somewhere along the way, we confused self-sacrifice with love. But love isn't about losing yourself. It's about being yourself, fully, and still being safe. I want to talk about a subtle pattern that's easy to miss. It's when someone does things for you, but only to gain power over you. Maybe they say, after everything I've done for you. Or they remind you constantly of all the ways they've taken care of you. It sounds generous on the surface. But underneath, there's a price. And that price? It's often your voice. Your independence. Your peace. One woman told me her husband paid for everything after retirement, but he also started controlling what she wore, who she called, where she went. She said, he tells everyone he's just taking care of me. But I feel like a child in my own home. That's not love. That's control, dressed up as concern. So what can you do when that line between love and control starts to blur? Start small. Start by trusting the discomfort. That little feeling in your gut? The tightness in your chest when they walk in? The way you second-guess every sentence before you speak? That's your body whispering what your mind has tried to explain away. You don't have to confront or accuse. You can start by noticing. Writing it down. Saying it out loud to a safe person. You can start by saying to yourself, this doesn't feel like love. And I'm allowed to name that. You are not being dramatic. You are not making things up. You are waking up. And healing begins the moment you stop shrinking yourself to make someone else comfortable. You deserve relationships where your needs aren't a burden. Where you don't have to earn kindness. Where love doesn't feel like fear. If someone only loves you when you agree with them, that's not love. If someone punishes you with silence, guilt, or blame every time you ask for space, that's not love. Real love can handle boundaries. Real love doesn't twist your words. Real love sees your no and still stays gentle. And if you're thinking, I've let this go on for too long, it's okay. It's not too late to see things clearly. It's not too late to ask, is this really love, or have I just been calling it that? You deserve peace. Not eggshells. You deserve rest. Not walking on tiptoe. You deserve connection. Not control. And that kind of love? It starts with how you love yourself. It starts with one honest look, and the courage to choose differently. If this spoke to you, I hope you'll leave a comment. You don't have to share everything. Just a word. A feeling. A small truth. We heal in community. And you, dear listener, are not alone anymore. You've got this. And you are so worthy of peace.